as we turn the page on baseball here with the Mets being eliminated and we get ready for the World Series, the Yankees and the Dodgers, and soon that'll be over, whether we have a parade and everything going on there, but that's still to be seen and still to be determined. But once we turn the page there, it's going to go to the NFL. And the NFL teams in this town are just abysmal. I mean, you're talking about the Jets, who brought in Aaron Rodgers. He got hurt last year. This year, he's not been good. He's been a average to below average quarterback at best. At best. And he makes excuses every week. They've lost 4 straight games. They're 2-5. And their playoff hopes are hanging by a thread. A team that had Super Bowl aspirations. A defense that was supposed to be top of the line is just no good. The whole team, they've changed their coach. We're going to get to that in a minute. The Giants are even worse. The Giants can't score a touchdown. Period. That's all you need to say about the Giants. They can't score a touchdown. Saquon Barkley came in and ran for 176 yards. I mean, talk about getting your revenge. He got it. So we're going to answer some questions here. We're going to do some football here. NFL week number 7. And of course, we're going to focus on the Jets and the Giants mostly, but we'll get to some of the other stories as well. Let's start with the Jets. Listen, it's unwatchable stuff. I didn't see much of the game this week, obviously, because I was watching the Mets game. But I've seen the highlights, and we're done. It's time for Aaron Rodgers to stop making excuses and start looking in the mirror, because he's not been good. He's below average quarterback this year. His numbers are okay in some games. He throws interceptions at the worst time. He does things that young quarterbacks do. That interception at the end of the first half with the Jets up 15-6 and the ball near midfield, you cannot throw an interception there. And he tried to thread one in, thread the needle up the middle, and it was just picked off. And Pittsburgh, 4 plays later, Russell Wilson gets them down in for a touchdown. And that's where the game turned. The Jets didn't score a point after that. 31 unanswered points by Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson was 16 of 29 for 264 and 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over, though. Rodgers, 24 of 39, 276 with a touchdown and 2 picks. And where's the Jets' running game? Breece Hall is nowhere to be found. He's MIA. 12 carries, 38 yards against a defense that had some injuries. Pittsburgh had a ton of injuries coming into this game. They had a makeshift offensive line that they threw together. The Jets couldn't get to the quarterback. Russell Wilson sat back there and he picked apart the secondary. That's supposed to be one of the best secondaries in the league. The Jets defense gave up 31 unanswered points in the second half and the final, seconds of the first half. They gave up 31 points. That's not an elite defense, whichever way you look at it. And Aaron Rodgers what else can the Jets do for Aaron Rodgers? They brought in Davante Adams. He was nowhere to be found. Disappeared in the second half. They fired the coach. The new coach is what are you going to do? In the NFL, you don't win when you change coaches midseason. They've done everything this guy has asked. And now it's time to start asking him, what's going on? Why are we not winning? Because you know what? He's making mistakes that quarterbacks of his caliber, and there's not many quarterbacks out there of his caliber in the history of the league, are making. He does things, he's not accurate. Okay? He is throwing picks at bad times. He can't put the ball in the end zone when they're in the red zone. Now, there are some drops. The Jets receivers are not very good. And which is why I was very surprised that Davante Adams disappeared in the final, in the whole second half. He was nowhere to be found. And the running game is just abysmal. 12 carries for 38 yards. The Jets ran for a total of 54 yards. I mean, this is a bad football team. And I'm shocked. I'm as shocked as anybody. Because I thought Aaron Rodgers would come in and they'd have a good defense. They wouldn't have to put up a ton of points. I didn't think Rodgers would be an MVP candidate this year, but I also didn't think that he would be, a below average quarterback, because that's pretty much where you're at this point. You got a defense that can't stop anybody. You got no running game. You got an offensive line that is just not really holding, and you got a quarterback that's he's all right. That's not a winning formula in the NFL. And the Jets now are 2-5, and they go into a little bit easier part of the schedule. They're in New England this week, and God help them if they lose to New England. I mean, they should go in there and beat New England pretty easily. But if they don't, I mean, this thing's over. Then they go home, Houston, at the Cardinals, and then home against the Colts. These are 4 winnable games. Right now, this is supposed to be the Jets are coming into this part of the schedule at 5-2 or 6-1, and then they roll through these 4 games and they get to 9-10 wins, and they shore up a playoff position, and then the rest of the way they could just kind of maneuver for positioning and for seeding and try and get a home playoff game. Not now. Now they got these 4 games, and they're must-win games. They are must-wins. The Jets cannot drop any of these 4 games. New England, Houston, the Cardinals, and the Colts. They have to be 4-0. They have to be 6-5 at the end of these 4 games if they're going to have a chance at the playoffs. Pittsburgh, I mean, listen, Pittsburgh's a tough game for the Jets. It's a tough game for anybody. Tomlin is the one of the top 2 or 3 best coaches in the NFL. He's playing with 2 quarterbacks now, right? He's got Wilson. He's like, oh, well, we're not sure which one we're going to go with. We're going to play each one, and he's got Wilson and Fields, and he's like, well, we're going to play which one, we feel is going to give us the best chance to win each week. There's not many, coaches out there that have the capital that can say mid-season, 7 weeks into the season, we're not sure about our quarterback situation. We're going to play it out and see how it goes. But Mike Tomlin does. And to me, I think Russell Wilson is a better quarterback. I think he gets the ball downfield more than Justin Fields does. I think Justin Fields is a little hesitant. He plays careful. He's been fantastic, but he plays careful. And I think Russell Wilson will probably give you your best chance to go further in the playoffs when Pittsburgh gets there. They're tied right now with Baltimore, and I think Baltimore's going to win that division. They're the best team. I think they're the best team in the NFL. They've won 5 straight after an 0-2 start. Remember when people were panicking about Baltimore? Well, they've won 5 straight now. And they are now 5-2. And the rest of that division, it's Cleveland, who brought in the practice squad quarterback from the Chiefs. And it's Cincinnati, who's not going anywhere, I don't think, at 3-4. So it's Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then everybody else is the way it works there. And Pittsburgh is going to be right atop in that AFC. So is Buffalo. So is the Chiefs. Those are going to be your 4 top teams, I think, going into the playoffs. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Chiefs, and the Bills. And the Jets can forget about the division. The Bills 5-2. The Jets at 2-5. And they've lost 4 straight games. The Jets are behind the Dolphins, for crying out loud. Dolphins don't have a quarterback. They're 2-4. And then you got New England at the bottom at 1-6. So the Jets, and they got to start questioning Rodgers here. Woody Johnson has done everything that Rodgers has asked. How much more could he do? He brought in his offensive coordinator that they didn't want. He got rid of the coach that Rodgers didn't want. He got the receiver from the Raiders that Rodgers wanted. He brought in players all over the place in the offseason. He let Rodgers go do his own thing and not come to the camp in the summer. And now for him to be doing this, throwing picks at the end of the half and just not getting his team into the end zone when he needs to be, there is no reason an Aaron Rodgers-led football team should be scoreless in the second half and be outscored 31-0 from the last minute of the first half through the rest of the game. It should not happen. And if that is happening, that player has no right to demand anything from his owner. And Woody Johnson just bows down and gives him whatever he wants. It's not the Aaron Rodgers we remember. He's not the same quarterback. He's certainly not the same quarterback. And you didn't, like I said, you didn't expect him to be a 4-time MVP guy coming in here, but you didn't expect this either. And the Jets are in big trouble. They're down. They're 2-5. They're 2 losses away from basically being out of the playoffs. And you got to feel bad because most of those Jet fans are Mets fans. And they're just, they go from the disappointment that the Mets had into this mess that is the New York Jets. It's a shame. It really is. I'm a Giants fan. Listen, it's worse for the Giants. Don't get me wrong. And I see people online comparing, when the Jets fans are basically, complaining online and Giants fans are like, don't forget about us. We're terrible too. Yeah, you're right. The Giants are terrible. But the Giants being terrible doesn't equate to the Jets being terrible. It's not the same thing. The Giants have Super Bowls. We have Super Bowls in recent memory. Just a couple of years ago, we went to a playoff game. We went to the playoffs that had a road playoff win attached to it. Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 15 years. The longest drought in American sports. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs. And when they haven't won a Super Bowl in forever. 69. Super Bowl III was the last time the Jets won a Super Bowl. So if you're a Giants fan, and like I said, I'm a Giants fan, you don't try and lump yourself in and be like, oh, well, how about the Giants? We're terrible too. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's like when the Yankees are bad, the Mets fans aren't feeling bad for the Yankees. And the Giants and the Jets fans are not feeling bad for the Giants fans. So stop trying to get them to do that. Their sorrow is much deeper than Giants' sorrow. And now the Giants, getting to the Giants, that's a disaster in its own right. The Giants don't score touchdowns. I said this a couple weeks ago. The Giants don't score touchdowns, period. Another game, no touchdowns, 1 field goal. 28-3 in your own building to a division rival with the guy you let go carrying the ball and rushing for 176 yards is completely unacceptable. And now I think the coach has got to go. The coach has to go. The quarterback should have been gone 2 years ago. The defense is terrible. There's nothing about the Giants that's good. Nothing. Neighbors, okay, they got a receiver. They got a receiver in the draft. The receivers can't do anything if nobody can throw them the ball. It's a disaster. You're right. The Giants are much worse than the Jets. You expected the Giants to be bad, but to not be able to score a touchdown it's straight embarrassing now. It's embarrassing what the Giants are doing. You expect, like I said, I didn't expect them to be this bad. I didn't think they were going to be good, and I thought they would be worse than most people did. But now the Giants are they're 2-5, and they're going to Pittsburgh, where they're going to get slaughtered on Monday night. Pittsburgh's going to just wipe the floor with the Giants. The Giants don't stand a chance. They're 6-point underdogs, which is not enough. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing gets up to 9.5 or 10 by Monday night. And then they go to Washington, who was much improved, and then Carolina. So the Giants can get a win against Carolina in Carolina. But you know what? They might not, because they don't score touchdowns. And it's not like they're kicking 9 field goals a game. They kick in 3 field goals a game and they're missing 2 of them. They're 19th in passing. They're 18th in receiving. They're 22nd in rushing. They're 31st in points scored. They have 99 points in 7 games. That is embarrassing. Embarrassing. And you know what? John Mara and Steve Tisch, they're not going to take it much longer. Brian Daboll is squarely on the hot seat. if this thing doesn't dramatically turn around, and I'm not talking about making the playoffs or anything, just becoming respectable and not embarrassing yourselves week after week after week, Brian Dable's going to be gone. Because John Mara is a proud owner. They are the original owners. The Maras and the Tishes are the original, are some original family names in this NFL. And for this to be going on, and you know season tickets are being affected, you know the building is not full every week, they're losing money, they're losing respect, and they're embarrassed. And it's all because of the play on the field. Giants will be 2-6 after Monday night. This could be the third straight game they don't score a touchdown. Because do you really expect them to score a touchdown? I mean, what a disaster. To be 31st in points, have 99 points after 7 games. They don't score 14 points a game. To show you how big of a disparity it is, Baltimore is number 1 in points scored. They have 218 points. They have 119 more points than the Giants do in 7 games. The Giants are 22nd in rushing. They have 700 yards. And the thing is they're in the top 10 in first downs. So they move the ball somewhat, and then they just forget how to play when they get near the end zone. They're allergic to the end zone. I mean, you're coming up on the halfway point of the season, and the Giants have like 7 touchdowns. Like, what are you doing here? It's an embarrassing time from coming off a season with the Mets and the Yankees and how well they're doing, and the Yankees might finish it up with a championship. To turn your head the other way and look at the Jets and the Giants, what a disgrace. Just a complete and utter disgrace. And then Dable's got to be gone. What are the Jets going to do as far as who knows? Who knows? But I tell you one thing that doesn't happen in the NFL. You don't switch coaches and have an interim coach take you to the playoffs and make a run. That's not something that happens in the NFL. So if the Jets are going to do this, it's going to be, unprecedented. And there's nothing that shows me that they're going to do it either. Like I said, they got 4 games. They have to win all 4 of them. And they come and talk to me when the Jets are 6-5. And at least respectable. As far as the Giants go, see you next year. Giants aren't going to be any. Giants ain't getting any better. And you know what? Good for Saquon Barkley to come in there, run all over that team. Because they made a mistake. Giving the money to Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley himself has more touchdowns than the Giants have all season. So now the rest of the league is we'll shoot around the rest of the league real quick here. The scores from week 7. The game of the week was the Vikings and the Lions. The Lions visiting Minnesota. Minnesota surprise team. The Lions, were they in the playoffs last year? They played real well, and it was a great game. Came down to a field goal at the end. The kid from Detroit hit a 48-yard field goal to win it. And Jared Goff is good. 280 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. You had Gibbs, the running back, run for 116 yards. The Vikings are also good. Now, that was the first loss that the Vikings have suffered. So that leaves Kansas City as the only undefeated team left. Kansas City is now 6-0. The 72 Dolphins are waiting on the champagne to be popped. They're waiting for the Chiefs. They're the only team left that needs to lose. And I'll tell you what, the Chiefs are going to be 9-0 before they have a chance to lose, because they're 6-0 now. They play the Raiders, the Bucks, the Broncos. 3 wins, easy wins. Then they got a showdown on November 17th up in Buffalo against the Bills. That's going to be that could be the game that they lose. But back to we'll get to that in a second. Back to the Lions and the Vikings. Sam Darnold is again I mean, that's just a kick in the stomach to the Jets fans because Sam Darnold is having a hell of a year. Again, he was 81% completion percentage last week, this Sunday. He threw a touchdown, he threw a big interception, he threw for 259 yards. Sam Darnold has turned into one of the top quarterbacks in this league. He's got good receivers now, obviously with Justin Jefferson and stuff, but he's moving the ball down the field. The Vikings are a dangerous team, especially in the NFC, especially that San Francisco was not as good as we thought they were. Because San Francisco had a chance to beat the Chiefs this week, a little revenge for the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs were limping in there. You got Kelsey, who's obviously getting old. He's not the same player. He has yet to score a touchdown this year. It's a different Kelsey. On the offensive line that is just torn to shreds with injuries. Andy Reid was throwing out bench players. Guys that will never see the field were making plays for the Chiefs. And Mahomes is just, Mahomes is if not the best quarterback of all time, a top 3 quarterback of all time. And Sunday to Sunday, he is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's not Peyton Manning yet. Sunday to Sunday, Peyton Manning is the best quarterback I've ever seen. Mahomes is getting close. He's unbelievable. And he's not an old man yet. So, the Chiefs 6-0, last remaining undefeated team. As Commanders are a good team. And I think they should win. I think they're going to win the NFC East. This game against the Giants might get the Eagles going. But the Commanders are every bit as good as the Eagles. They are atop the NFC East at 5-2. 4-2 are the Eagles. Dallas 3-3. They had a bye this week after that disaster last week. And then the Giants, they're 2-5. Doesn't matter. The North is the division is the powerhouse division in the NFC East. In the NFC, you got 5-1 Detroit, 5-1 Minnesota. Detroit has first place because they just won the head-to-head just this week. The South, Atlanta 4-3, Tampa Bay 4-3. The South is always like this. The South is where you get the 500 division winner, or a game over 500, or even sometimes a game below 500 division winner, and it's always like that. Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans is 2-5, and Carolina 1-6. So it's going to be Tampa or Atlanta. Neither one of them are very good teams. They're both 4-3. They're both average teams. You're going to get a division winner out of there that's going to have a better record, that's going to host a playoff game, and they're going to be hosting a team with a better record. And then in the West, you got Seattle 4-3, Arizona 3-4, San Francisco 3-4, and the Rams are 2-4. So the Rams and the Niners, the two teams who we expected to be at the top of that division, are at the bottom of it. So the Ravens continue to win. The Ravens are the best team in the NFL. As far as I'm concerned, pound for pound, the Ravens are the top of my number one team, then the Bills, then the Chiefs. Because the Bills picking up Amari Cooper is a huge pickup. He fits perfectly into that system. He didn't have he had 6 catches with a touchdown, only like 60 yards, but he fits perfectly into that system, and he's going to be a perfect fit for that offense. And the Bills are going to win the division. They're going to win 11 games, 12 games. They're going to have one of the top seeds. They're going to host playoff games. I think the Bills are just a touch above the Chiefs right now, and I say that just because the Chiefs have a ton of injuries. Who knows where we're going to be in 10 weeks from now around Christmas time when the playoffs are getting going. But right now, it's going to be, for me, Ravens, Bills, and then the Chiefs as the 3 best teams in the NFL, and they're all in the AFC, and it's going to be a fun down the stretch, regarding the AFC, who gets home field, who gets the 1 seed, who gets buys. It's going to be very interesting. So that's going to do it from us here. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. We got the World Series coming up this week. We're going to do a show previewing the World Series. We got everything you need to know. We got Knicks starting up. The Rangers are playing well. The Liberty just won. We're not going to do Liberty, but congratulations to the Liberty on delivering a basketball championship to New York City. First one in God knows how long since the Knicks in, 73. So the A lot going on here. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. You can find us on any social media. You can find us on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. We're also always at lockedupsports.net. And that's going to do it for us today. So that does it for the NFL show. We'll talk to you later in the week. We'll talk some World Series, Yankees and Dodgers. From the Brian Gunzel studio, I'm Bob Walters. See ya.